Now we're on Daf Kufay Amid Beis, and we're trying to figure out what happens if a person is in a situation in which he is in doubt whether he became a Mitzvah. He's a Nazir, and what is the procedure? So, number one, we said that according to Reb Shimon, he brings on the 60th day, the morning after the 60th day, he brings Ashamo Velugo Imo. The Omer, what does he declare? Im Mitzorahu, if he's talking about himself in third person, if I was a Mitzora, Ze Ashamo Ze Lugo, right? The Mitzora at the end of his healing process, he's got to bring a carbon asham. And it has to be accompanied by a log of shemen, which the Kohen will put on various parts of his toes and so forth and so on. V'im lav. But if, on the other hand, I'm not a Mitzora, Osham Zeh Yeshalmi Nedova. Now, what does that mean? Osham Zeh Yeshalmi Nedova. An Osham can't come as an Nedova, but it means that this carbon itself should not be an Osham, but rather should be a carbon Shlomim. Now, he's got to have all the chumras of a carbon asham as well as the chumras of a carbon shlamim. Because again, if he's a mitzvah, this is a carbon asham. If he's not a mitzvah, this is a voluntary carbon shlamim. So therefore, also asham ton shchita b'tzafon. Right, that's a special halacha of asham that you need shchita b'tzafon as opposed to shlamim. Umatan bahonos, right? You have to put the shemen on his toes and so forth and so on. Right, so the shechita is in the north side of the Azara. Shlom could be anywhere in the Azara. Then we apply, number one, to his right ear, right thumb, and big toe, some of the dam. Oh, and now we get to the chumras of shlomim. That would not apply to an asham, namely smicha tenufa and chaz v'shov. Nechal zichri kuna liyom v'layla. That's the chumra that's an asham. Whereas had it been a shlamim, he would get 2 days and 1 night. In any event, we see clearly that Reb Shimon allows you to make this kind of tanai and bring your carbon with this tanai. So the Gemara says, "V'afal gavdeka mefarik mar b'shchitas kodshim." That's very good. You bring a raya to Reb Shimon's opinion with regard to shchitas kodshim or Masechtas Zvachim. But Emer the Omer of Shimon Maisi Umasli Lechatchila, that's only L'Skuni Gavra, right? Because on the side of he's a Mitzorah, how do you get him out of the state of Mitzorah and bring him back into the state of Tara? So you're gonna have to do all these conditions. Aval Bialmav is a general rule. Who says that Reb Shimon would be willing to bend the law? The Eved in Lechatchila lo. In other words, Reb Shimon is saying in this particular scenario that he might be a mitzvah and he's got to get out of it. So then he can make all sorts of conditions in his karbanos. But l'chatchila, he's not allowed to bring a carbon and say, well, it might be this, it might be that, and make all sorts of contingencies and conditions. So in our case, Reb Shimon would not allow one to bring 2 menachos with a condition. So Gemara says that's not an argument. Hani miligabi shlomim. With regard to someone who wants to bring a carbon shlomim with a t'nai, that it might be a carbon asham to come in my baki losan. Now he's saying that this shlomim should be treated like a carbon asham, and that's called being my bachila, because a carbon asham could only be eaten by the kohanim for 1 day and 1 night. Had it been shlomim, he could get another day. So he's being mafsid shlomim. Dahavale kochim, lebeis hapsul, right? He's initiating a process that'll bring more kodshim to the state of puzzle, of being invalidated. So therefore, Rabbi Shimon would not allow you to bring a shlomim with a t'nai that it might be an osham. Aval b'menachos, afilu chatchila. He's going to bring two menachos with a condition, and his condition is acceptable even lechatchila because it doesn't limit the length of time available for menachos and their consumption. So when he brings chalas and rikikin conditionally, stipulates that they should be offered either as a fulfillment of his pledge or as voluntary. He's no way shortening the time available for either mincha's consumption, because the time for consumption of mincha is always a day and a night. And therefore, even lechatchila, Reb Shimon could accept these conditional vows. Okay, now we have five menachos, and we worked it out that that could be reconciled even with Reb Shimon. Amalei Reb Papa Abaye, Reb Shimon Diomer Mechza Chalos Mechza Rikikin Yavi. When Rabbi Shimon says if he took an edit to bring a minchas mafa, he can bring five chalas and five rikikin. How can we say that our Mishnah would reflect the shita of Shimon? And he makes a stipulation that the chalas of one isaron should combine with the rikikin of another isaron. Hakamaisi isaron echel mide mishnei isaron. Right, he should be bringing a single isaron that he draws off of two isronos for log echad mishnei lug. So what's Rav Papa's objection here? He says, since the person suspects that he may have taken a pledge to bring, number one, only rikikin, number two, only chalas, or the combination of 5 and 5, he's going to have to bring two isronos of flour separately in two kelim. He's going to make one isaron rikikin and the other chalos, and an accompanying log of shemen with each one. But he may have vowed to bring a mixed, half chalos and half rikikin. Therefore, he has to stipulate that the rikikin and the chalos of the two menachos should combine to form a single mincha. Can you fulfill your pledge and bring a mixed loaf mincha, combining two separate and distinct menachos, and they were sanctified in two separate clay shares? And the Gemara answers, as Abai's response, Shamina leila Reb Shimon di Omar. Reb Shimon, in fact, said, Im hevi isaron echad mishnei esronos. If he brought one isar from two different esronos, lo gech mishnei lugim yotza. Okay, now the question is, how does he do kmitza? Umikmatz hechi komitz. Right? Since the person may have vowed to bring a mincha either entirely of chalas or entirely of rikikin, he's going to have to bring two separate menachos, and he's going to have to perform two separate kmitzos, one from chalos and one from rikikin. But it's also possible that he took a neder to bring half and half. So how do you address the possibility that he wants to bring a mixed mincha of chalos and rikikim when he only did two kmotzim, one kometz on chalas and one kometz on rikikim? And the Gemara answers, Masni Yomi makes it a stipulation, a condition. I chalos l'chudai rekiki l'chudayu. Right, if I took a pledge to bring either chalos or menachos, is Amri now hereby I'm saying the kmitzna the kmitza mechalos lehevi achalos and the kmitzna rekiki lehevi arekiki. So that's fine. But on the side that I took a neder mechza rekiki mechza chalos, Amri, I'm going to make the following declaration. The kmitzna mechalos lehevi amechza chalos umechza rekiki. Let the kmitza of chalos be related to or on behalf of the mincha that's part chalos, part rekikin. Again, the chiddush is that you don't have to do a kmitza on rekikin, in this case of half and half. It's sufficient that you do a kmitza on the chalos. With the called kmitza merakikin, or alternatively, he could do a kmitza from the rekikin and lehevua mechza rekikin mechza chalos. So Gemara asks, "Boy mikmatz chad kometz michalos umerikikin." Because kometz michalos are rekikin achalos. How can you get away with that? And Gemara answers, "Shamina leila Rabbi Shimon diomar im komatz v'ola v'yodo me'echral shneim yotza." Okay, then. So now we're up to Daf Kuf. But Shemir Hashem will pick up tomorrow. Shavua Tov and Chodesh Tov.